So we'll come to the part 2 of the 3 parts as usual for the 10 gods. And we now come to the rock wealth. So as a quick refresher before we move on, the rock wealth star is more unfavorable for which gender, male or female? As we look into indirect resource is more negative for female, as indirect resource weakens, it weakens the husband. So it weakens the husband, the officer star, and it counters the children. And therefore, it is generally inauspicious to have indirect resource. So to have indirect resource tends to deter the ability to find a good spouse and also to bear children. Therefore, when reading for female day masters, if they do have indirect resource, luck, in the luck pillar, it may denote the difficulty. Therefore, that's where we have a reading for indirect resource. Now for rock wealth. As for rock wealth is the opposite polarity to self. And the one thing that rock wealth and friend stars are very close to each other, both of them represents the day master. And while the self normally means when you see yourself, it is a form of personal branding. But rock wealth, of course, would then be the counter. And so in a way, rock wealth is more extrovert. It's more extrovert. And friend star is more introvert. And so here we consider that rock wealth is not generally auspicious, more for male, more for male. Because in a way it counters the wife. As it counters the wife, it also counters the father. Because the father can also be indirect wealth. But okay, this is also for both, male or female as well. But the thing here is for male, you have your wife, and it may also represent infidelity, as it is. So rock wealth is that extrovert, life of the party, outgoing, brotherhood, hang out with the guys, or even if it's lady, that will be also the same thing. Party animals, like to go out at night, like to join associations, like to be part of networks and so on. And therefore here, as we look into rock wealth, we do find that rock wealth can appear both in the year and in the month. And also it can appear in the graveyard of an earth. And so now as we spend part 1 looking into where it is, where the rock wealth is. And so now let's move along to part 2, and we'll just read some of it before we move on to how rock wealth, when encountering the other stars as well. So in a way, we do consider that as it comes to rock wealth, their nature is more harmonious as they are able to be better at interpersonal relationships. And therefore, they are accommodating, adaptable, and they can be very loyal to their partners. And the one thing, of course, is that when we look into rock wealth, they are very willing to sacrifice their lives, very willing. And so this is one thing that is the distinguishable mark for rock wealth. They are very willing to sacrifice their lives, sometimes for fame, for fortune, for prosperity amongst all. And so when they manifest, so when rock wealth manifests positive elements, they would then have very strong positive leadership qualities, strong social skills, as it is. Right. And now and so here let's take a look into a particular chart. We have Alfred Vanderbilt. Now for those who may know, the name Vanderbilt is a very old name, known for one of the richest families in the last century. Therefore, here we have Alfred Vanderbilt, born in October 20th, 1877, into the family. And so as you take a look into the chart, let's look at it. Number one, we find that the day master is a pink fire day master. And usually again, when looking to fire day master, the hour is actually more important than the hour is also very important than the other elements to look at. Somehow we don't have that thing. So yes, you're right. Daytime for pink day master. But then it has a thing. It has a thing. Therefore here, we would like to consider that it has a Rockwell facade. Rockwell facade. And it has an indirect wealth. It has an indirect wealth as the month step. And so these are extrovert. So these two are extrovert pillars. Has their extrovert pillars, the character of the person tends to be extrovert both in society and also in career. And now here we continue to look at the strength of the day master. So this pink fire day master born at the end of autumn. Therefore, the pink fire day master is weak. Weak. It has rooting. You can find it having rooting onto the and you can also consider that rock wealth also supports it to a certain degree. But we can see that rock wealth is also rooted. And so therefore here, slightly rooted, but generally the season explains 80% of the strength. So more often, this is a weekday master. And weekday master having quite a strong rock wealth. But really, we need the hour to be certain because Ting fire is suitable to be born at night. Therefore, the hour will determine whether the day master is stronger or the rock wealth is stronger. For this may be quite an important one to consider as well. Okay, so as we look into rock wealth, here we have number one rock wealth. We have two rock wealth, and this is in the graveyard. So therefore, we find that this is in the dog graveyard. So it may be that the the inauspicious negative elements for the rock wealth can be manifest because can be found in the graveyard of the dog. Now we also see that during the period, we can also come across a rock wealth here. So therefore, this is a rock wealth luck pillar. It's a rock wealth luck. Now, as we are looking at a chart of a male, rock wealth usually comes entangled with marital issues. And so let's look into we look into two things here. We look into the personal lives of this day master, and also to look into how we can read the manifestation of the rock. Okay, now first of all, what is the element that combines with the pink fire? What element combines with the pink fire? The yang fire combined with what? Anyone can remember? The pink fire combines with what? Or have you forgotten about your basically? Okay, so sin metal. Pink fire combines with sin metal. So when we look, if you can remember the sharing for looking for a spouse. For looking for a spouse, we can look into the peach blossom star. We can of course look into for male the wealth star, or the stem we can find the combo stars. Therefore here. Now, of course, people marry for different reasons. Therefore, there are also different manifestation of how one can look for marriage. Huh? One can look for marriage. Okay, so here we find that the person has wealth star during the early pillars. Okay. And so wealth star represents the wife. If you're looking at it from a personal perspective, and of course, this person is 8 years old to 18. This will be too early to predict for it. So it may come it to be here between 18 to 27. Especially, especially if you can remember, we are referring to a chart of a person born more than 100 years ago, where people do marry earlier than people today. So anyway, that may be the pillar for looking into. And then of course, we can also look into the sin metal. So the sin metal comes into mind. The sin. Right, so in 1901, but actually the year before that, we may find that Vanderbilt married. So you can find marriage in 1901. There is a marriage, even though January 11, before the sin metal year that comes in. So therefore, one can find that it will be the pillar, the person get married. But then here we see that within 7 years later, there was some marital issues. So we find a divorce in 1908. So 1908, as we move on into the hurting officer Lat Pillar. Hurting officer Lat Pillar, but we do find that it is Ting Fire Rockwell. So therefore there is a stem, a protrusion to the stem, and also protrusion to the stem. So this pillar is quite negative for Alfred here, because it is Rockwell sitting on hurting officer. So Rockwell sitting on hurting officer is not a good pillar, not a good pillar to be on. Therefore, we do expect some issues in life. Now, if you can also remember that we did mention about all the hidden. Now, all these are hidden elements. But what element is not actually hidden or cannot be hidden? If you can remember, this is, I think we mentioned quite multiple times before. When you look into elements that are hidden, what actually cannot be hidden? And that would be the Ting fire. That's right. Yes. Ting fire cannot be hidden. Cannot be hidden. Now, if you can recall, we do welcome indirect resource being hidden. Indirect resource should be hidden because it is not something that we would like it to be protruded to the stems. So if it is hidden, good. If it is hidden, that's good. If your indirect resource is hidden, that's good. If your hurting officer is hidden, well, that's good. That's good as well. All the indirect stars, if they're hidden, they're not so good. But rock wealth should be hidden. But rock wealth is protruded, and rock wealth is a Ting fire. So having a Ting fire, well, you can't really hide. Therefore, it will surface. And therefore, when will it surface? So when will the hidden element surface? Well, in a way, the hidden element will surface when you can find that it's being protruded to the steps. Therefore, this will be where we can see such a manifestation into one. So anyway, rob wealth, rob your wealth. Rob wealth, rob your wife. So therefore, usually when we look into rob wealth, we do consider that rob wealth can be manifest in many ways. It can manifest, one manifest is when rob wealth is in the early part, that means in the year and month pillar. It may mean that the person may witness the death of the father, and therefore the experience of the natal chart is where the person buries his or her father. Therefore, that's why. Now, rob wealth also represents infidelity because it robs your wife away. So therefore, for male, rob wealth is not welcome to a certain degree, that it may result in certain issues of infidelity. So here we find that the wife filed for a divorce, alleging adultery with a wife of another person. And there was, of course, publicity, because here we find that this Rockwell cannot be hidden, cannot be hidden. So it is a scandal that's related to where it becomes publicized. But it was pretty bad. The public opinion was very negative against the wife, and therefore led to her committing suicide. So all in all, these are all very negative, very inauspicious manifestation for human affairs. Right. We look into the person. This person has one direct wealth here in the early part, has a direct wealth here in the early part as well, indicating that the person may have the opportunity to remarry. So therefore, when the bill married on December 1911, it so happens that 1911 is also another sin metal year. So the year that the pink fire combines with the sin metal. Now again, there are few ways to look into marriage: pitch master, wealth, and combo. Now, if it is a combo, it can be also earth combo. It can also be heaven, heaven. And if it is heaven, usually it denotes on the surface. It things that are public, things that are basically sometimes for you know, when kings get married, it's also for strategic alliances. It's also where the public opinion is important. So usually powerful people, rich people, political alliances are formed. You may also see into that. Right. So anyway, we will consider that when reading for Rockwell's, and we can find that the Rockwell's, when it appears, so when Rockwell appears, so therefore this would be the pillar would be Rockwell sitting on hurting officer. So in the next part, in the next part 3, we will then be looking into the pillar. How will we read when Rockwell sits on hurting officer? Now this pillar will be both negative for male or female, because hurting officer hurts the husband, and Rockwell, of course, steals the wife. Therefore, whether male or female, this will have one negative or the other. And the thing about the Rockwells, of course, is that they are courageous and they are very willing to sacrifice. And so when Vanderbilt moved into the next luck pillar in the year 1915, right? So in May 1915, and when he boarded on the ship, Lusitania, together with his valet, Mr. Danger, and somehow there was World War, if you can remember, it was World War One, and a submarine torpedoed the ship, and the ship begins to sink. And therefore, we find that Vanderbilt, bear in mind, one of the richest people on earth, one of the richest people, persons on earth, gave his life jacket to save a female passenger, promised a young mother that he would locate an extra life vest, failing to do so, offered her his own life. And then as he was trying to save people, and he could not swim, and he drowned, and his body was not recovered. So ultimately, we do find that, as the story goes, one of the richest person on earth, with a famous name like Vanderbilt, sacrificed his life to save others at the age of 38. And therefore, this will be a very typical or a very known manifestation of what a Rockwell would do. So the Rockwell would sacrifice his own life for the sake of others. A hero, courageous, an extrovert, life of the party. But of course, it comes with sacrificing internal. So in a way, Rockwell would be somebody who favors other people than his own. His own. So if we look into a person with Rockwell, it is good to be a stranger to Rockwell because the Rockwell will come to the party and buys drinks for everybody, drinks at the house. And so you benefit from a generous Rockwell. But if you are related to the Rockwell, you suffer because you have an absent husband, an absent father, and one who prioritizes the interests of others ahead of you. So in a way, you can say that at the end of the day, he sacrificed his own life and bring misery, of course, to his children and wife. But of course, he at the end saved other people's life. Therefore, this is what a Rockwell would do, and how we can then see what a Rockwell star has we read along. So again, too many Rockwell is not positive. It's not really very positive. And so we're not really into counting, but we are actually looking also into whether the Rockwell is auspicious or otherwise. So in this context, I would hazard that the chances are he is born at night. That this is where the Rockwell is stronger than the day that comes into. In a way, also we find that again, this will be also friend star. It's a friend star sitting on Rockwell. Friend star sitting on Rockwell. Also, not a very positive, not a very positive sign as well. Now, you can also recall from another sharing in the past when we did, another sharing in the past when we did the people to avoid. If you can focus on the people to avoid, I also have shared this. So for people to avoid, we do have the Rockwell goat blade. So Rockwell goat blade of all the 60 pillars, the Fan Yin is quite bad. No? The Rockwell goat blade is equally bad itself. But the Rockwell goat blade is bad in the sense that you have an affinity. You're drawn towards it. You're drawn towards it. Drawn towards it basically means that for young people, they can be infatuated, they can love, they can fall in love, they can be attracted to people who have this element. They have this element. And chances are it will screw your life. In a way. So Rockwell goat blade will screw your life in a way that it can also be one that can predict death. Death. While Fan Yin, of course, will be a clash. It will be a clash. And a clash can be very nasty. Nasty clash. And so here, as we look at it, what year is this year? This year, I'm sure, did mention in it. This year itself is the year of the wood dragon. Therefore, this year itself will be the Rockwell goat blade to the Yeatwood Daymaster. I think I did share this before, if you can remember, from the Jade Dragon series. So the Yeatwood Daymaster would be facing their wood dragon year, which is their, of all the 60 pillars, their worst, the worst experience in 60 years. All right, therefore that would be the product. Now, if you look at it this way, it is always wood sitting on wood. So the Mao is wood sitting on wood. Jia Chen is also wood sitting on wood. I know that it's earth. I know dragon is the main chi is earth, but basically dragon is on the wood, so-called season, as it is. So it's also just how we see wood on wood. Just like your fire goat, think wei, which is also fire on fire, technically on the fire season. And then of course, ping is also fire on fire. And for the story of Vanderbilt, for Vanderbilt, we do have also a rock wealth good blade in a way. And therefore, this person faces two pillars. That is, so Ting Wei is also a rock wealth good blade pillar, and this is also a rock wealth good blade pillar. And therefore, rock wealth good blade is also violent. Violent. It's a violent pillar. It brings harm to the day master. It can also threaten the person's life. Life. And so, in a way, we do find that this Vanderbilt died violently. You can say that violently, torpedoed by an enemy ship, submarine, and then drowned into it. Therefore, that's where one would always be very cautious upon the arrival of any rock wealth good blade. And if we do find the rock wealth good blade in another person, avoid at all costs. Avoid at all costs. So if you are a Jia Wood Day Master, you avoid the Yip Mao at all costs. If you have any partners, lovers, friends who have this element, be aware you will be drawn towards it. You will be attracted towards it. I mean, falling in love with a man, falling in love with a woman is a very strong attraction, but it's a deal breaker. If it is in the death and emptiness, it also manifests negatively because it's a very violent and energetic pillar. So it will also be manifest the same in that sense. So it will carry the same message. Maybe not too, the energy is reduced, but it's still negative. Right, so please avoid at all costs. If you're a pink fire day master, Ting Wei is your Rockwell good blade. Therefore, avoid at all costs. But of course, to say avoid at all costs is not something you can do if it is your luck pillar. If it is your luck pillar. Therefore, if it's your luck pillar, very sad because there are, of all the 60 luck pillars you can have, to have one in your luck pillar that lasts for 10 years represents a very turbulent, a very nasty pillar. And so Vanderbilt here has a public scandal, a divorce, and so on, so to speak. Right. Therefore, it's not easy to then avoid that. All right. As you look into, so this is it. You have your Earth, Keng Metal, Day Master. This is a very revengeful. It's a very, very revengeful pillar. If read negatively, that will affect the Keng Day Master and so on. Right. So anyway, this will be it. For the rainwater, of course, you avoid at all costs. It's also water sitting on water season for the ox, and of course, water sitting on. So today we look at it, and sometimes, regardless of whether it's Friend Star sitting on Rockwell or Rockwell sitting on Friend Star, we do find that the manifestation is about the same. About the same. And the way to distinguish it, of course, is then to look at the strength of the day master. Let's move along. Okay, so all the wealth stars. So there are three wealth stars: direct wealth, indirect wealth, and rock wealth. So these are the three wealth stars. They are all vulnerable to money. And therefore, they're all about pleasure and enjoyment. Again, money and sex. These are the two things that motivates and drive them. Money and sex for this direct wealth, indirect wealth, and rock wealth. Right, and of course, we do see that they are very keen on making money, very excited. And they, with the exception of direct wealth, these two spend money like water. Therefore, they're very generous. They lack the financial acumen. And the thing here, of course, is that they also rob not just money, but also health, time, and emotions. So the remedy one can say for remedy is investing in intelligence. So how do you want to interpret this? Well, investing in intelligence, of course, would then be, I mean, that's easy to be said, right? Indicating the remedy here, of course, is for your financial acumen, for to be more on the self-control, especially for rob wealth, that can be easily cheated, because it also represents a scammer luck. And therefore, the intelligence also indicates that they should avoid lending money, avoid entering into partnership, because it may also be, as mentioned, kind of a fraud or scammer, kind of a luck itself, yeah, as it is. Right, so let's move along to the other part of the reading. Okay, so now it also matters whether we are referring to a Yang Day Master or a Yin Day Master. And so as we look into a Yang Day Master, the strength of the rock wealth and the indirect wealth uh, usually results in extramarital affairs, engaging in illicit relationship. Therefore, here when we look into Vanderbilt is a Yang Day Master, and therefore the rock wealth would then be the Yin. That's it. If we look into the Yin Day Master, then the rock wealth will be Yang. And therefore, we do find that in this part they can also be in this part they can also be but somehow they can seize the opportunity to persuade their wives. So has it. So in the ancient days, of course, uh, it basically means you have a better chance of a successful polygamy lah. And while Yang Day Master would be more scandalous and divorce. Therefore, in a way, it says for the Yin Day Master, having rock wealth would be better. Now, the argument, of course, is, let's say, for example, if you look into the Chia and you look into the Yi, in a way, which one climbs over the other? We do find that the Yi wood climbs over the Chia. If we find Ren and Kui, which one covers the other? Which one blocks the sun from the other? So this is where the Kui blocks the sun. Kui will block the sun from the Ren, so the Kui will prevent the rainwater from controlling fire, making money, making money. And the Yi will be the parasite tree that climb above the tree and become parasitic that comes into. Therefore, this would be how we can consider. Anyway, we look into the Wu Earth and the Qi Earth, we find that the soil can cover the mountain into one. So this is where in each part the Yang Day Master suffers more from the rock wealth. They suffers more from rock wealth. And while the Yin Day Master tends to be capable of overcoming the Yang rock wealth better, able to do so. But more so for the water and the jet. The one thing, the one exception here is fire. So for fire, it is not about yin or yang, it is about the hour that they are born. Therefore, for fire, look at the hour pillar if you can, if there is. But then for the rest, then it'll be the season, and also they also to see whether they are yang or yin day master. Right. So as we move along, we do consider that what would be the remedy, or what would be the issue with the rock wealth, that they would tend to be more, they tend to, they need to be more cautious. They need to be more aware that their enthusiasm towards external matters surpass their own family members. I mean, a Rockwell should be aware that if they keep hanging out and going out at night for too long, it may be detrimental to their. Okay, so again, we look into the Rockwell good blade pattern. So of course here we need to see where they are, whether they are on the day or the month or to the year. So what controls Rockwell? What controls the Rockwell? Well, we will find that the direct officer or the 7K can controls the Rockwell. Right. So now let's take a look into again the reading here. We have the individuals for the strong day master. But once weakened, it can be considered to be highly unfavorable. So let's take a look into. So now let's come into. Um, okay, welcome. All right. So let's take a look into another chart here. We have Scott Davidson. Where will we find the Rockwell? And so now we'll find the Rockwell sitting on the mud. Now, not just any Rockwell. This is a Koi water. And again, I don't need to show this chart. Once you see that water sitting on water, once you see that it's water sitting on water, this is the Rockwell good blade to the Koi water day mask. And so now as we look into a Koi water day master born in winter, we find that the Koi water is rooted and the right season. So the day master is very strong. And here again we have an indirect wealth, Ting Wei. And if you can remember, Ting Wei is also a rock wealth good blade day master, because this is also fire, sitting on fire. This range is also rock wealth good blade. And therefore, we do have two pillars which are rock wealth good. So these are very strong energy, very strong extroverted energy, has it. Now, when you find that you have a rock wealth good blade, the person, it can be charming, very charming. Remember, because you can also be other people's rock wealth good blade, and so other people are drawn towards you. And so here we find that this person by the name of Scott Davidson can attract fire people. He can find fire people attracted to him because he has the Rockwell good blade of fire. He also can attract water people because he too has a Rockwell good blade for the water people. But the thing about it is that he himself is also water. Therefore, the man pillar would denote a pillar where that would be his Rockwell good blade. So in a way, true to the nature of his character, he too sacrificed his own life for the sake of others. And therefore, we find that the pillar can also mean facing a potential violent death. So therefore, Scott Davison perished during September 11th at the World Trade Center in New York. All right. So having Rockwell Goldblade in your luck pillar or in your arriving or in your natal chart has a certain potential negative manifestation. That one would have to be very careful. Okay, so that's why we read the Rockwell Goldblade. And you know that when it is the element sitting on the same element. So water sitting on water, fire sitting on fire. And likewise here, uh, how you can see the manifestation of the Rockwell good blade in the chart. Okay, so now let's move on to the next part very quickly as we just summarize it. Let's just come into now how the interaction of Rockwell with all the other 10 gods. Rockwell controls the wealth. Therefore, when we see Rockwell, these are meeting. We're not looking to sitting on. We're talking about meeting. Therefore, this meeting, of course, can be where the Rockwell is the host. Rockwell is the host, and these are all the guests. Guest means your luck pillar. Guest means your year pillar. Month pillar and day pillar are just too minor to worry lah. I mean, if you have a day pillar, maybe that day you get fined by the police or you get a traffic summon, some wealth is lost. So anyway, rob wealth meeting direct wealth, loss of wealth, loss of wealth. And because direct wealth represents income that you earn legally and stable, therefore it results in a loss due to unethical behavior. And the thing about rob wealth, especially a day master here, may find itself indulging excessively with alcohol and women because direct wealth also represents wife. And therefore, it may also be the case where rob wealth meeting direct wealth may also mean misfortune to the wife. So rob wealth meeting direct wealth may also indicate infidelity, has to do with marital related area or work area. Therefore, it's quite negative to find it here. Rob wealth meeting direct officer. Direct officer, of course, would be your official status, and therefore something that hits against your direct officer would also be impulsive and can also be a part where loss of jobs can be done or sometimes breach of trust to a certain degree. Because rob wealth and direct officer are also clash. These are all clash. If you look into the clashes, we can see here that rob wealth meeting direct wealth is a clash. Rob wealth meeting officer is also a clash. So at the end of the day, if you can just go back to the basic 5 elements, just go back to the fundamental relationships of production, weakening, and countering, you can conclude on your own. So that's not to say that you have to memorize a lot of rules. If you know your fundamentals, all this will come quite easily, as it is. Rob wealth meeting indirect resource. Indirect resource produces. Therefore, it produces. Rob wealth talks a lot. Indirect resource represents information, knowledge, and therefore this will indicate that there is a tendency for them to talk, to boast, to also represent fraud in a way. It also represents information-based fraud, misrepresentation. So it depicts misrepresentation, lying, and so on. But resource represents health. Therefore, rock wealth meeting indirect resource can also be healthy to this degree. Rock wealth meeting hurting officer. Hurting officer is produced by rock wealth. So it is also a production. And since a production, the rock wealth enhances the hurting officer. So it's strengthened. And rock wealth and hurting officer shares many similarity in the term in that both of them are extrovert and it gives more courage for the hurting officer to rebel, to innovate, to have the courage and bravery to do what a hurting officer should do or can do. And of course, here, a hurting officer can be arrogant, can be proud, and it can also indicate a period where it brings the negative element of the hurting officer. Right. So these are some of the uh, meeting that you can see the interaction from the 10 concepts. Right. Now, other than that, here, uh, actually, the wealth and the officer about the same. Sorry, those are literature for 7K, and also here the indirect wealth. Also here the direct resource. Yeah? So basically, they're just about the same into a certain degree. These are just very similar. So they're actually just very similar to the part as well. So there's not much to add on to the other side as well. Okay, but the thing about 7K, 7K of course also represents impulsiveness, and also so impetus. So in a way you can see that generally all these things do not show that they are positive. They are positive. But of course, if the day master is weak, if it's a weak day master, then the rock wealth will be tremendously very, very auspicious. Will be very positive and be supportive. So therefore, that will be how they interact the rock wealth with the other 10 gods. Yeah. Right. So here will be the part two for today. And so next week we will move on to wrap up into the rock wealth sitting on the pillars. Yeah. As it is. Okay, so I think we'll close up here for today. If there are any other questions, we're more than happy to share. Yeah. All right. If not, then wish you good. Okay. Thank you, everyone.